Good evening and salutations, my GH fans. So, let's start off with TJ and Stella. Now, I thought this conversation was actually pretty interesting because TJ has some real legitimate concerns. I just wonder why he didn't sit there and bring this up to Molly when they were talking about, having Christina be the surrogate. And one of the things was he wasn't so much worried about he wasn't too concerned with the medical part about Christina. He was more worried about the emotional part of Christina. And given her history of doing things then backing out at the last minute, he's wondering if he's setting himself up and Molly up for disappointment. The treatments and stuff like that, how it may or may not take, how long the process is, how difficult it is. He's wondering if, she's actually going to be a good candidate. And while I do understand him voicing or him venting to Stella, this is something he really needs to be talking to Molly about. Maybe he doesn't want to sit there and do it because he doesn't want to crush her dreams or anything like that. She seems like she's super excited about it, but it's better to have to talk now and go with their original plan of just going through a surrogacy than to be dealing with an unknown factor like Christina. Now, speaking of Christina, her conversation with Sonny was somewhat interesting because Sonny's like, at the end of the day, between running Charlie's and running the center is going to be a lot. Are you going to have time for a personal life? And then he finds out that she's going to be a surrogate. And that's a lot in itself. But then on top of that, what about this new thing that's going on with Blaze? And she's like, well, it's just the beginning, it's just starting or whatever. But I don't think she really factored that in. Because, who's to sit there and say Blaze is going to want to deal? First of all, let's just take the surrogacy part out. Dating is already complicated as it is. And if you don't have a lot of time for dating in general, it's not going to work. Those two things that she's running would be damn near impossible to have a dating life. And now you're throwing surrogacy into it on top of that? I know they're going to sit there and try to make it work because, well, story. But I don't think that she's going to be too receptive. I don't see her, I guess, in a realistic way being too receptive of it. But now we'll sit there and say this. When the actress that forgot her name, what's her name? Kate Manson. So when you first found out that she was going to sit there and be Christina, I had my hesitations. Mostly due to the fact that I was used to Lexi being Christina. The reason why I'm actually liking this one is because she is showing a more adult side of Christina. And let's be honest, given Lexi's size and everything like that, I still consider her to be somewhat more of a kid than an adult. Especially if you're going to be listening to talk about surrogacy stories and stuff like that. I just feel like Kate Mancy or whatever her name is, I can see her doing a better job of portraying this Christina, this adult grown-up Christina. So, I don't know. It took a while to sit there and kind of, I guess they say, warm up to her. But given all the factors and the storyline and stuff, I see her portraying a better role. Her doing a better job and just, well, like I said, portraying a better role than Lexi. Carly. Here's the thing. Carly was out of pocket today, asking Ava all these different questions and things of that nature. And Ava's like, listen, I appreciate you stepping up and being a stepmother for my child when I couldn't. But like at the end of the day, it doesn't entitle you to be sitting there asking me 24 questions or whatever. And of course, Carly's like, oh, what affects you affects me. I love this girl and stuff like that. Cool. But you're not that child's mother, and you need to sit there and know your place. On top of that, you're not Ava's mother either. So you really need to sit there and know your place. When they're sitting there talking about Austin, and she's all like, oh, well, did you kill him? And this, that, and the third. It's like, it's none of your goddamn business. Like, it's really not. This is one of those things where it's like, Carly's out of pocket for it. And I don't know if this is her stubbornness or immaturity, whatever you want to sit there and call it. Oh, you out of pocket. Now, the only thing that she did sit there and say that I agree with is that whatever she's in, she needs to sit there and tell Sonny. I've been sitting there saying this for a hot minute. And, Ava's like, well, if I feel like it gets too out of hand, then I'll sit there and tell him. But I'm like, the last time things was way out of hand and you didn't sit there and tell Sonny. And Sonny had to pretty much Sonny had to sit there and find out only after you got the piss smacked out of you by, I can't even sit there and remember, Betty. Then you decide to sit there and tell because you didn't really have another choice. If that didn't happen, you would have still kept Sonny in the dark. And then you may not have actually even been there. Or it might have almost been too late. And you still didn't learn your lesson. So, as out of pocket as Carly was in this scene, and she really was out of pocket, that's pretty much the only thing that she said that made a bit of sense. That I can sit there and fully agree with. So, Monica's back. I know a lot of people are happy about that. And, I've expressed my feelings before about her coming back, Lois coming back, and hell, even if Jerry Jacks came back. I'm all for characters coming back if it makes sense and they can give them a good storyline, you know? And what I'm happy to sit there and say is that they're going to give her a good storyline. I feel like she's going to have more of an integral role in this whole Finn malpractice lawsuit. And so I can appreciate that. I can appreciate that. Because that's what I was sitting there worried about. Monica coming back for fan service is nice for the fans that like her, but I need more than that. And it seems like they're actually going to give us more than just her being back for fan service. I wish they would do that. I wish they would have done that with Lois. I still think this time, but I think that GH at this point is just like, the way I look at that, it's like, looking at this episode, looking at the past couple episodes, they have some amazing storylines going, but they feel they need to sit there and stress certain things out. So it's like shining a new toy in somebody's face and then just saying, see, I got this going on, I got this going on. I mean, it may take a while before we get to actually story, but that just doesn't work for me. But I don't know. I'm glad that they're actually going to give Monica a good story. So, and she's sitting there talking to Tracy. They got to sit there and bring in Finn. Finn comes in, and Finn is sitting there telling his story about how he treated this guy, and he stands by his work. And Tracy later on approaches him and says, listen, I'm coming to you as a board member. And basically Smith is saying that we're going to sit there and back you. We're going to back you because you're a good doctor. You pretty much like, I believe in what you try to do to sit there and save this guy's life. And so, as far as I'm concerned, we're not going to sit there and throw you to the wolves. And when Jay's lawyer came in and talked to Monica said the same thing. Now, the lawyer pretty much is like, practically said the same. We're going to throw this man, we should throw this man on a bus. Say he acted alone, the hospital didn't know, and, just pretty much kind of worried about covering our own asses. And Monica she wasn't about that. She wasn't about that, and she stood. She's standing by Finn in this decision. The thing about these malpractice suits is that they're very complicated, especially this particular one because Diane, for some odd reason, which I felt was a little kind of out of pocket when Robert was there asking, "Hey, so do you think that Finn is guilty?" And usually the thing about Diane is that she doesn't really sit there and talk about her work. Her work is her work. That's her private stuff. I thought she would have probably been more like, listen, we're here to sit there and have dinner and conversate and things of that nature. It's not about me getting into my work. But for some odd reason, she felt the need to sit there and disclose her feelings. And, her feelings, she stands by her work as far as thinking that Finn could have saved this guy's life if, you know, he would have been more careful, um, looked into his case a little more thorough, that the guy would still be alive. It's kind of a what if sort of situation, but that's what they get paid for, you know. Um, so yeah, she stands by the lawsuit. It's a very difficult one. I can see both sides of it. And then it looks like towards the end of the night, Diane and Robert have loving in the afternoon. I mean, they don't really show it, but it's implied. Um, so okay, I don't really know what she sees in this man, but yeah. Now, when Amy asks Portia about the medical, the malpractice medical suit or whatever, I was just like, boo, what are you doing? Why would you sit there and ask your manager, your boss or whatever, about, oh, do you know anything about the case and this, that, and the third? It was so out of pocket that Portia was like, yo, listen, I shouldn't even be having this conversation with you. And at first, I thought it was just Amy being typical Amy, because she's a gossip queen and things of that nature. This is the things that she does because for some odd reason, it just makes sense to her tiny brain. But in this particular case, she did have a reason, and she tells, I think Liz, she tells Liz when she asks Liz the same question, is that she assisted in the surgery with Finn, and she pretty much just wants to know what to say. And Liz is just like, just tell the truth. That's the only thing you can really do at the end of the day is tell the truth. I guess she wants to sit there and make sure that she doesn't get in trouble and stuff. And I can understand that, but I'm part of me is just kind of surprised that Amy is just this dumb. Like that's my whole thing. I'm just kind of surprised that Amy is this dumb. Like I can't imagine being a nurse and going through school and everything like that could be a very easy thing, and yet she comes across as pretty stupid at times. I know she's supposed to be a throwback to some Amy before I started watching the show, but Jesus Christ. Now, Gregory and Alexis, have dinner, whatever, to sit there and catch up, talking about Brooklyn and Chase's engagement, Violet's song that I muted, just all the good, happy stuff. And then Alexis talks about Christina being a surrogate and her concerns about that, which I get. It's a lot. And I know that, again, people have sat there and told me, and I do remember one of the reasons why they want to sit there and use Molly is to at least have um, some sort of DNA contributing to them. From Molly's side and from TJ's side and everything like that. But is it really worth all the downsides of this whole event? You know, that's my whole thing. It's like there's so much negatives to this that I'm just surprised that somebody as smart and as logical and as logic sound as Molly would sit there and just be like, yeah, no, this is a totally great idea. I definitely want to sit there and do this. I can totally see this working out. No. No, maybe Christina, but not Molly. And clearly TJ is not fully on board with this. But I feel like he's going to sit there and just go through it anyway because it's what she wants. I mean, you guys have to remember, this is the same guy who practically found out that Molly slept with Brando. In under 24 hours, he found a way to sit there and forgave her. So I don't think at this point no one should be that surprised that he's sitting there going along with the surrogacy thing, even if he doesn't fully believe in it, and is not really sitting there trying to do, and is not really sitting there trying to talk to her about his concerns. He's just gonna just go through with it because that just makes sense to him. Now we'll sit there and say this before I do wrap up this video. You know, the lawyer's not there telling Monica, hey, listen, practically just throw him under the bus, and, you know, we'll sit there and save the hospital. Now, let's just sit there and say, for the sake of argument, she decided to go with that plan. Just be like, hey, you know what, listen, we're going to just claim ignorance and, you know, pretty much kind of feed Finn to the wolves. About a malpractice suit is just because you won the malpractice suit doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to still damage the hospital and its reputation. You know, because if you stop and think about it, if you're gonna sit there and choose a hospital to go to for surgery, you're gonna sit there and do your research and find out about the doctors, about how many deaths, malpractice, and things of that nature. It's it's almost like if somebody's found innocent, you know, as far as let's just sit there and say a murder or a killing and stuff like that. It doesn't mean that they didn't do it. It just means that one person had a better lawyer or the other person just sucked as the district attorney. So, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm glad that Monica's sitting there sticking to her guns and being like, you know what, listen, I gotta do what's right, you know? Because I'm pretty sure, maybe in somewhere in her head, that she's probably sitting there thinking the same thing, you know? You're gonna sit there and, I don't know, I feel like that just makes sense. Maybe that's just my theory, but anyway, I feel like that's pretty much about it. I can't really think of anything else. But as always, I do sit there and say, come to the live stream tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We'll sit there and talk about all the shows. General Hospital, Days of Our Lives, Born the Beautiful, Young and Restless. I'm going to be streaming for an hour and a half tonight since I got to wake up at a ungodly morning time in the morning, which I generally hate doing, but, you know, it is what it is. So yeah, with that being said, I'm going to go. I want to thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.